The McMahon family empire is crumbling, and what I'm about to reveal will shake the WWE Universe to its core. Behind the corporate smiles and carefully crafted public appearances, Triple H and Stephanie McMahon's marriage has been hanging by a thread for months. And the backstage politics, power struggles, and family betrayals that led to this moment are more explosive than any storyline WWE has ever produced. You think you know the real story? You think the sanitized corporate PR machine has been telling you the truth? Think again. Because what's happening behind closed doors at WWE headquarters makes the Montreal screwjob look like a friendly handshake. Right now, as you're watching this video, Triple H is fighting two wars. One against Tony Khan and AEW for wrestling supremacy, and another against his own wife and the McMahon family legacy that's threatening to destroy everything he's worked for. And the casualties of this war aren't just careers, they're marriages, friendships, and the very foundation of sports entertainment as we know it. The cracks first started showing after Vince McMahon's dramatic exit from WWE. What the mainstream media won't tell you is that Stephanie and Triple H weren't celebrating, they were at each other's throats over who would truly control the company. Because here's the thing nobody talks about: when you marry into the McMahon family, you're not just marrying a person, you're marrying into a dynasty that eats its own children alive. Stephanie McMahon grew up believing she was the heir apparent to the WWE throne. Triple H, born Paul Levesque, clawed his way from a mid-card wrestler to the top of the mountain through sheer determination and yes, strategic relationships. But when push came to shove and real power was on the table, these two discovered that love doesn't conquer corporate ambition. The first major crack appeared during the creative restructuring following Vince's departure. Sources close to the situation, and I mean people who were literally in the room when these conversations happened, tell me that Stephanie wanted to maintain the family's traditional iron grip on creative control. She believed that WWE's success came from the McMahon instinct for what works, that special something that made her father a billionaire. Triple H, on the other hand, had been running NXT for years, developing his own vision for what WWE could become. He'd worked with indie darlings, he understood what the hardcore fans wanted, and he had his own ideas about the future of sports entertainment. When he finally got his hands on the main roster creative, he wasn't just implementing Stephanie's vision, he was implementing his own. That's when the marriage started becoming a business rivalry disguised as a partnership. But here's where it gets really ugly. Remember when Stephanie stepped back from her on-screen role? The official story was that she wanted to focus on her family and other business ventures. The real story is that she and Triple H couldn't agree on the direction of her character, and those creative disagreements spilled over into their personal relationship. Triple H wanted to phase out the McMahon family dominance on television. He believed, and still believes, that WWE needs to move beyond being the Vince McMahon show and become something bigger. Stephanie saw this as a personal attack on her family's legacy and her own position within the company hierarchy. The tension reached a boiling point during the planning stages of WrestleMania. Multiple sources confirmed that there were heated arguments about match placement, storytelling direction, and even which wrestlers should be featured prominently. These weren't creative disagreements between colleagues, these were fights between husband and wife about the future of their family's business empire. And then came the financial pressures that nobody talks about publicly. WWE's sale to Endeavor Group wasn't just a business transaction, it was a seismic shift that changed the power dynamics within the McMahon-Levesque household forever. Suddenly, Triple H wasn't just married to the boss's daughter, he was answerable to corporate executives who cared more about quarterly earnings than wrestling legacy. Stephanie, meanwhile, found herself in an impossible position. She was simultaneously trying to preserve her family's influence while adapting to a new corporate structure that valued her husband's creative vision over her own strategic input. The woman who once fired her own father on television was now struggling to maintain relevance in her own family business. The breaking point came during negotiations for the new television deals. Triple H advocated for creative control clauses that would protect his vision from network interference. Stephanie supported network-friendly programming that would maximize revenue streams. These weren't just business disagreements, they represented fundamentally different philosophies about what WWE should be. Behind the scenes, their personal relationship began reflecting their professional conflicts. Friends of the couple report that conversations at home inevitably turned into debates about company direction. Date nights became strategy sessions. Family dinners became corporate meetings. Their marriage wasn't just affected by their work, it had become their work. The situation became so toxic that other WWE executives started choosing sides. You had people loyal to Triple H's creative vision, and others who believed Stephanie's business acumen was being undervalued. The company that preaches about being one big WWE family was literally dividing along family lines. And here's the kicker that nobody's talking about: their children are caught in the middle of this corporate civil war. These kids are growing up watching their parents build separate empires within the same company. They're seeing firsthand how business success can destroy personal relationships, how power corrupts even the strongest bonds. The recent changes in WWE programming aren't just creative evolution, they're the visible symptoms of an invisible marriage crisis. Every booking decision, every character development, every storyline direction reflects the ongoing power struggle between two people who can't separate their personal relationship from their professional ambitions. Triple H's push for more athletic, competitive wrestling reflects his desire to be seen as a legitimate creative force rather than someone who married into power. Stephanie's focus on mainstream appeal and corporate partnerships reflects her determination to prove that she's more than just Vince McMahon's daughter. But the most damaging aspect of this entire situation is the precedent it's setting for WWE's future. If the company's leadership can't maintain stability in their own relationship, how can they provide consistent creative direction for the product? If Triple H and Stephanie can't agree on basic company philosophy, how can they present a unified vision to talent, investors, and fans? The wrestling industry is watching this situation very carefully because it affects more than just two people's marriage. WWE's creative direction, talent relations, corporate partnerships, and even stock price are all influenced by the stability of the leadership team. When that leadership team is having marital problems, it creates uncertainty throughout the entire organization. Recent insider reports suggest that Triple H has been spending more time at the WWE Performance Center, not just because he's passionate about developing new talent, but because it gives him space away from the corporate politics at headquarters. Meanwhile, Stephanie has been increasingly involved with external business ventures, creating her own sphere of influence outside of WWE proper. This separation isn't just physical, it's philosophical and emotional. They're building separate professional identities while trying to maintain a united public front. The strain of this double life is evident to anyone who knows what to look for during their rare public appearances together. The most telling sign of the crisis came during recent stockholder meetings, where their body language and interaction patterns revealed significant tension. Corporate executives, financial analysts, and wrestling journalists have all noted the change in their dynamic. They're not finishing each other's sentences anymore. They're not presenting unified responses to challenging questions. They're operating as individuals who happen to work for the same company, not as partners building something together. This isn't just gossip or speculation. This is the reality of what happens when personal relationships become corporate assets. Triple H and Stephanie's marriage was never just about love and compatibility. From the beginning, it represented a merger of wrestling royalty and corporate ambition. But as WWE has evolved and external pressures have increased, that merger is showing stress fractures that threaten both their personal happiness and professional effectiveness. The wrestling community needs to understand that this situation affects everyone in the industry. WWE's leadership stability influences contract negotiations, creative opportunities, and even the competitive landscape against companies like AEW. When the people in charge of the biggest wrestling company in the world can't maintain harmony in their own relationship, it creates ripple effects throughout the entire business. The truth behind Triple H and Stephanie McMahon's marriage crisis isn't just a celebrity scandal, it's a cautionary tale about what happens when family businesses become too big, when personal relationships become public commodities, and when the pressure to succeed professionally threatens to destroy everything personal that matters. And this story isn't over. Every WWE event, every corporate decision, every creative direction change is happening against the backdrop of this ongoing personal and professional crisis. The future of sports entertainment might literally depend on whether two people can figure out how to be married while running a billion-dollar entertainment empire. The McMahon family built WWE on the foundation of larger-than-life storytelling, but the most compelling drama isn't happening on television, it's happening behind the cameras, in boardrooms and living rooms where real relationships are being tested by the very empire they helped create.